Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I'm your host, Lasheena Williams, and so excited to be here with you all. And as we continue this month's conversation on measurement and evaluation for your nonprofit, a very scary topic for some, but it's very important to being able to demonstrate your impact. So I'm excited to have Dr. Angela White-Jones coming back on with us today. So, hello.
Hi, Lasheena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming back and talking about this topic that we all need to hear.
Yes.
Um, but before we get started, can you talk a little bit about your nonprofit journey for those who may not have got a chance to meet you yet?
Sure. I started in nonprofit work, geez, as a volunteer when I was a kid, but working in the industry probably a little over 20 years ago, and went through various phases of my career with working either right in the nonprofit or alongside of them in consulting and all of that jazz before coming to the University of Central Florida in 2017 and teaching here, and where I've been ever since. And currently, I'm the director of the Masters of Nonprofit Management program here at UCF. I am able to kind of take a lot of what I have learned in practice, and then, of course, apply that to our curriculum here and the design of our curriculum here to be able to train and give increased skill sets for nonprofit professionals in their careers as well, no matter where they want to go. It's really exciting to be able to talk about a traditionally scary topic, but it's one
Hmm.
that we have several classes on here as part of the program. So we know that it is necessary, maybe unfun, but necessary.
Love it. And thank you for talking about the program. So, for those of you tuning in, I'm an alumni of the program.
Yeah.
And I know when it came to UCF, it was a newer program. I was one of the first graduating graduate program members then. And then now to be able to see the growth of not only the program, but just also normalizing nonprofit as a degree,
Yes,
because it wasn't a thing as much then, but now people are able to further their education in nonprofit management, and that's a program that you all offer over there at UCF.
absolutely. And I must plug it too, because we found out that we are the number 15th nonprofit program in the country. And so, as you said, many programs now have seen it and it has expanded. So, a lot of universities have standalone nonprofit programs, quite a few actually, in the time that our M&M program began. So, to be in the top 20 and to continue to, I think, increase its visibility amongst students and potential students in Florida, outside of Florida, and internationally is certainly our goal. So I'm really happy with where we are and where we're going. And you are a part
Yay.
of that, Lashina. So
Yes, love it. Thank you. And really quick before we jump into the topic, because I know of some interns that's inside of the group, or professionals who are not in the doing nonprofit work but don't have formal education in
mhm.
nonprofit, that has constantly asked as to where can I find a degree program, or what should I do to further advance within the field. So I'm going to kind of do this in two parts because it's two
Yes,
different sections. One is for our interns that's at the point of where they're trying to figure out, do I really want to go into nonprofit? Because one, there is that idea of nonprofit means nonprofit,
mhm.
like
Of
no,
course.
like right. There's that idea, and they're scared about whether this is a field that they should go into. So I would like to get your thoughts on that for those interns. And then the second part is those that's in the group that they either started their nonprofit, they landed in the field, they're looking for additional education.
Mhm.
And I know also, well, some of it will probably be, I'm sure you'll talk about the CEU opportunities in case, a full degree program isn't their idea. But so that's the two parts. So for our
Yeah.
interns, and then for those looking to just further advance their education in nonprofit.
Yes, well, it's totally understandable, especially, as a young person and a person who is finishing or in the midst of a bachelor's degree, or even people who are younger than that. I've spoken to high schoolers about this as a potential career path. But so it's difficult when you hear a nonprofit thinking, well, how am I going to survive? How am I going to live? Am I going to be able to, pay my bills and do all of the things that it is that you want to do? I will say that number one, nonprofit is a tax designation. And so it isn't one, and I try to get mostly donors and potential supporters to realize, and the public to realize, that it is okay for a nonprofit to have money and to take in revenue, because it needs to in order to sustain, and you need to pay people who are engaging in the service industry, if you will, that is
Mhm.
profit, to be able to do the work that they do and pay them fairly, and with equity and with promise for their own lives in the future. So it all of it comes together, and you have to look at, as a student and as a person who wants to be a nonprofit, what is your priority and what it is that you really truly want to do. There are nonprofits that do pay competitive rates. And then there are some that unfortunately may not be able to do so at the moment. So you really have to look at, what kind of structure you would like to work for. What is it that you want to do? Where does your heart lie and your passion lie? Because I do believe that while passion certainly does not pay the bills, the passion that you do have and you do great work, you will find a way to continue to increase in your career, and that increase will be financially. But it really goes with finding and discovering where you want to go, who you or what nonprofits that are in your area, what they're paying and what their average salaries are or hourly rates are, and if there is a ceiling where you can go to continue to move forward in your career. So that's what I would say to your interns. Don't I had a passion for it as a young person,
Mhm.
and it's just something that I was telling some other students that I was doing a seminar with, that it's not anything that I could really even explain. It's just
Mhm.
it was a lead filled time and a lead filled capacity for me to be a nonprofit. I could not see myself doing anything else. And having a relationship with other nonprofit people. I
Mhm.
couldn't see myself being in a different sector, honestly. I tried, I've been in it before,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it wasn't something that made me happy and that satisfied me. So I think if you really look in your heart and what you want to do, you'll find the right fit for you financially and in other places. As for everyone else who wants to further their education, again,
Mhm.
said UCF has a master's in nonprofit program that we have. It's a 2-year program. It's all online, 100% online, so you can take it wherever you are in the world. We also have 2 certificates, graduate certificates. So those are 1-year programs where you get still graduate courses, but you're only taking it for 1 year, and that is in fundraising and in, again, general nonprofit management. And if you feel that that full type of education is not for you, we have a couple of other areas that we do work in terms of continuing education. We do have a financial management seminar, continuing education. So if you're into the financial management components of your nonprofit, we're actually taking applications for that program. I believe it's an 8-week program that is taught by a couple of our UCF graduate professors as well. And it's a mixed method on financial management capacities. That's this summer, 2025. Feel free to email me, reach out if you have questions on that. And we also have 2 capacity building programs where it builds your general knowledge and capacity within a nonprofit area. We have them in Osceola County, which just got started last week, and we are taking applications now for Orange County. So if you are interested in that and you are a nonprofit in Orange County for the summer session, please apply now. We are taking applications for the next couple of weeks. And if you're are in Osceola and interested, please send me that information and we'll let you know when the next cohort begins. So there's a lot of different types of
Yay.
continuing education, and those capacity building programs and financial management programs are
Mhm.
free. So I want to let everyone know that as well. That
Yes.
is very important when it comes to nonprofit.
Mhm.
Those have been generously made through grants by the county in of those areas. And so because of their support, we are able to provide you those programs free of charge.
Love it. Well, thank you for that. So let's dive into this
Yes.
topic of measurement and evaluation for nonprofits. And I guess we could start with because especially growing a nonprofit organization, it's often, it's hard work. You just want to serve whatever the mission may be of your organization. And
Mhm,
then comes your first couple funders, and
mhm.
they're asking either for a report or they want to know the impact or all these different things, and then you realize, wait, hold on a second. Oh, okay, so we got to do this on top of being able to deliver the actual program or service that we're delivering.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about like starting out with measurement and evaluation with your nonprofit at a smaller scale. What's a place, and then we'll kind of just build up in the conversation. What recommendations do you have for organizations that's just starting out, or they may be in their initial years, and they're ready to kind of grow their impact, but not necessarily they haven't built that side of the house when it comes to measuring and evaluating as much.
Absolutely. So the first thing that you want to do, and that I would say to any nonprofit, even ones that are at its infancy,
Mhm.
is to define what impact is and define what success is, because you
Right.
can't measure these things. You can have the tools and all of that stuff, we can give it to you, but if you don't know what you're looking for and if you don't know what you're measuring, then you can't utilize the tools in the
Mhm.
first place. So knowing and understanding what impact is and what success is, because we have the clear definition of what impact is, we have definitions that abound of what success can be. But it's different for different people and it's different for different nonprofits. It's also
Mhm.
different for different funders as well. So if you are interested in applying for a grant, or if you're interested in reaching out to any particular donor, be it an individual or a corporate donor or sponsor, it is imperative that you are able to align your success measurements and your impact. And success for some doesn't necessarily equate to impact on firsthand, but it should. So, what I mean is that you could say that you launched a program, you successfully launched a new project, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you've shown impact yet.
Mhm.
You've just successfully launched this. You've successfully done what it is that you said you're going to do. But the impact is the reach, who you are talking to, who will be affected, who will have lives changed, where will that come from, what area is going to receive the biggest benefit to the work that your nonprofit is engaging in. So the first thing is to define what that means to be successful. What is your, when you have said, our program is successful. It's not just that general nature. And a lot
Mhm.
of funders, whether they again be foundation grantors, whether they're corporate, whether they're different type of sponsors or individual donors as well, and grassroots donors are getting more hip and they're wise and they're like, well, what is my dollar going to?
Mhm.
Where is it driving? Where, what is the impact of it? And so you have to define that, and don't look for other people to define it for you. They're looking for you, the expert. So the definition of impact is the first thing I would tell anybody
Mhm.
to engage in, before you start going down tools and measurements and
Mhm.
even reporting and all of that. It's to actually say, we know we are successful when X happens. We
Mhm.
see impact in X area through Y channels. That's how you are going to be able to measure those two areas.
Okay. Got so now they define their impact. They said this is our why, this is why we exist. They have that definition. Now what?
So after you've got the definition, then becomes okay, how do we actually measure it? So let's say, for example, you have a I'm trying to let's see. Oh, here's an interesting one that's difficult.
Hmm.
I see a lot of people that need vehicles,
Hmm.
transportation, super important. So someone will say, okay, I can measure impact for like a tutoring program, how many students read, how do the test scores, increase from pre to post, simple like that. But if you've got something like, okay, I want to have transportation, how do I see the impact of transportation? So you can do that where if you're looking for a van, you first have to quantify how many people are going to ride in this van over the course of a day.
Hmm.
And then how many people will times that over the course of the week? Are they the same people? Then you can just multiply it. Are they different people? Then they become even greater because it's unduplicated
Hmm.
individuals that are riding in your van or in your bus. So then you take, okay, these are the number of people that are riding from to and fro, wherever it is that you need to for job or for education or for housing mechanism, however it is that you want to quantify it. So first look at how many people, where are they going, and over what period of time. Once you have those particular numbers, now you have a scope of the number of people that you are likely to affect just having one vehicle that you were not able to affect prior to you not having that vehicle. And a lot of people will say, well, my operation is small, so it's only 8 people. Okay, it's
Hmm.
8 people. There are still 8 people, and maybe that you didn't serve or that you're not able to serve without this vehicle. With this vehicle, you are serving 8 people. Maybe next year, you will be able to have another vehicle and serve an additional 8 people. And it'll go and it'll multiply and it'll multiply like that.
Hmm.
Also, you can share again, where are they going? So, are these 8 people able to go to work faster, safer because of the transportation? Are they able to interview for jobs and therefore, be able to be employed? What are the attributes of the actual van, of the actual transportation model, not just the van itself or the bus itself, but where are they going? What do you need them to utilize it for? So it's a lot of things about how many people are utilizing that particular structure or infrastructure and what are they doing? Where are they
Hmm.
going? How are they using it? Um, who else is being affected because of this? And the fact that if you don't have it, then those 8 people are not getting what they need. And then you cannot spider it out to 16, to 24, to, 32, so on and so forth, if you don't have that one vehicle. And
Hmm.
you take that example, and again, you can scale it up, you can scale it down, you can move it to the programmatic side of things. But I wanted to use the van because that's more of the trickier side. I get a lot of people who understand like the tutoring principle
Hmm.
example, but there's a lot more in terms of transportation. I've seen proposals now for things like equine or animal services, so like equine therapy and
Hmm.
aid for that, and people who need stuff like stables or they need feed for the animals. And so it's like, well, how do you prove that that's important? Because you have
Hmm.
to work backwards on what are they ultimately trying to do? What is that equine, what is the horse there to do? They're there
Hmm.
to help other people through therapeutic means. Well, the horse can't do that if the horse doesn't have food, if it can't eat, if they can't
Hmm.
do all of those necessary things to keep the horse strong, to keep the stable strong. So you got to keep the stable strong so you can make what they're doing a success. Again, going back to success, even better. And if you have a strong stable, then that means you have healthier horses that can reach out to more people, that can then increase the amount of folks that are receiving equine therapy. So it's working backwards of, yeah, it's a small thing. It may seem like it's not necessary, but the necessary part is the end. So begin
Mhm.
with the end in mind as well when you're doing evaluation and thinking about how do I measure this? Always begin with the end in mind.
That's awesome. And I'm just thinking back to your van example, which is perfect because sometimes we will get caught in, um, hey, there, or when we're sharing, we're serving 8 people on a weekly basis through our van transportation service. But you were able to kind of provide that example of no, we need to kind of take it further, being able to just demonstrate the impact. If these people are not on the vehicles, they're not getting to their jobs or whatever it might be based off of your primary why behind
Mhm.
why you're doing that transportation. So I love that you talked about that and provided that example, because you're right, like some of the other services are easier to kind of put together, but sometimes, and I've seen this also through grant reviews and so forth, an organization may put, hey, we need 2 vans to serve 14 people, and that's it. And then for the reader or for the funder, it's hard. It's like, okay, and
Right, right. And where are they going? Like, are they going to their home? Or are they going
yes,
to a game? Or
right.
like, like what is it that they need? And obviously we know being in this industry that there's a need. But if you're
hmm
not demonstrating the need, then we don't have as reviewers, we can't fill in the blank for you.
hmm
That wouldn't be fair. So all we're left with is what is on the page, what is
hmm
on the proposal, and if you're a fair reviewer, you're not supposed to be like, oh, well, I assume that
hmm
this is happening because we don't know. We can ask questions, we can go back and if there's an opportunity, but there are some funders that are like, I'm not going to take the opportunity because
hmm
I've got a stack over here and I don't have time to be asking questions like that for everybody. You should have put it and made it more clear. So that's the the point and the purpose
hmm
behind all of that.
Love that. So at what point do you okay, what is I'm trying to think how to word this. So pretty much, all right, so your organization is going, you identified your impact, you got the tools going, but at the same time, you know that whoever it might not be is not an expert in this measurement and evaluation piece to continue to grow the organization. What are the positions that typically would manage such measurement and evaluation within a nonprofit? And at one point, would you recommend a nonprofit explore bringing in that type of support when they along their journey that
Well, I would say if you can afford it, bring someone in.
uh-huh, right.
Whenever you can afford to bring somebody in, do that. Or whenever you can afford to maybe train an existing person where
hmm
to the effect where the job that they're doing isn't going to fall apart. Because again, I don't believe in increasing workload to the point where like it's dragging and there's no time in the day to really settle on the strategy and all of that kind of stuff. There
hmm
is a thing as work overload, but if you've got an opportunity to either hire someone because you do have financial means to do so, then do that. Or if you have an opportunity where there's someone existing that you think would be great at it, then train them, use that money to then train them and send
hmm
them maybe to a class, pay for their education,
hmm
do all of that to get them comfortable. What I would say in a traditional nonprofit area, you're probably looking at someone in development that's doing it. Um, it could be the director of development. It could be if you have a separate grant person, grant writer, manager doing it. Um, I think those are the likely folks to do it. You could also bring in your finance team, but again, evaluations don't necessarily equivocate. They're not equivalent to financial. It's a
hmm
part of it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Um, you may also look at some of your program directors as well and the people who are actually in the field. The only rub with that sometimes is that if they're in the field, they may not have the time to do it, but they
hmm
certainly should be consulted because they, again, know what successes, they know what an impact, they know what they're doing. So
Mhm.
when you're able to have a person who's in the field no evaluation, that's much more helpful. But I would say those are probably the folks that are going to be the most involved and the most hands-on with it because they're going to know what is expected. The development people from the funding side of it,
Mhm.
um, and the programmatic people, obviously from the programmatic, service component side of it, and working together. And sometimes you can have a couple people do it. Maybe it's a team that works together as well. It should be someone who's also very organized and who is very detail oriented. And that second part is crucial. Someone
Mhm.
who understands and can pinpoint detail, detail, detail is who you want for sure.
Love it. Awesome. And I love that because even though I asked the question more in a nonprofit lens, it also I think for those that's looking to explore the field of nonprofit gives them an idea of if you're looking into development or grant writing or program measurement and evaluation is going to touch you at some point within the field.
It is. So don't shy away from it. In fact, embrace it because it makes you that much more valuable for the
Hmm.
nonprofit. Because, like you said, you don't have to go out and get another person
Hmm.
to do this. And if you're in, like, my background is in grants. So if you know how to already facilitate that type a process, it makes you so much more valuable because you don't have to go out and get anybody and you don't have to necessarily continue to you want always want to train yourself, but you don't
Hmm.
have to start from scratch per se because it's something that you already are working on with your job and you can see things that others maybe may not be able to. Now, if you're in a smaller nonprofit situation, you know, the CFO may have to start that process, but then ensure as you grow that other people have that knowledge. Sit
Hmm.
down with them and get them that information. Get a plan together so that as you expand, whoever is going to take on this role is trained in these areas. Can't say that enough.
Love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Any other tips that you have for nonprofits tuning in around this topic of monitoring and evaluation?
I would also just say, look at it, break it down in small bites. I know it
Mhm.
seems that it's daunting, but you should be keeping records and data anyway. So once you've decided that your data is a pre-test, post-test, or it's a survey, or it's attendance records, or all of the above, or it's mileage, or
Mhm.
wherever it is, once you decide that once you have impact and you're going to decide how do you see it, that's the data part. So make data collection a regular part of your day. And if it whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever, make a design a repository and a process to gain that information so that when it does come time for you to need it for reporting purposes, funding purposes, etc., you're not scrambling wondering like what is this, where do I do, how do I pull it, what are the numbers exactly. You can already have these things and these records that are kept uh, at hand when you need them. And you will need them. Sometimes even, like, your marketing department uses them, and they're like, "Oh, impact, great. Let us use that as well to
Mhm.
show people." So, again, these numbers are, showing impact and evaluating and what success looks like is something that threads every part of the nonprofit.
Awesome, thank you. So I don't think we've done this before together on a show. So I'm gonna hot seat questions.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you some hot seat questions just so we can get to know you a little bit more. And then after that, I'm gonna ask that you share any ways that the audience can stay in touch with you.
Alright.
Okay. All right. So if you could have any superpower for a day, what would it be and why?
Um, What would it be? Probably the power to get more sleep because I don't feel like I
Ooh.
get enough of that, but,
Uh,
and all jokes aside, like a traditional superpower, I probably would be invisible.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, being able to go in rooms and in places and really get the real and understand
Uh-huh.
what's going on, and move and be flexible without
Mhm.
anyone stopping me. So, yeah, I would be visible.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one song that always gets you pumped?
Well, I don't know about the one song because I like music so much. There's so
Yeah.
many of them, it's hard to choose from.
Uh-huh.
I will tell you what I was listening to in the car. I don't know if it's necessarily appropriate, but it was Foxy Brown
Uh-huh.
and Spragga Benz. It's, from
Love
the
it.
Silas album, so it was that.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's what got me pumped this morning. That's was coming in.
I haven't heard Foxy Brown in a long time.
I'm a old, like, 90s, 'cause
That's
that's my
yeah.
era,
Yep.
so, and I have 2 kids, one of which is a teenager, so I do
Mhm.
know the current music that is out there, but I'm always gonna stay loyal to the music that I grew up with as well, so,
Yes.
I was in an old school bag day today because
I
normally I
love
listen to
it.
podcasts on the way, but, like, I don't know, today I just felt a different way.
Yes. No, I agree. I'm like stuck in the 90s, like
Yeah, yeah,
especially when it comes to music.
yes.
Um, okay. All right. What's your go-to comfort food after a long day?
Probably pizza. I've always liked pizza since I
Ooh.
was, like, yay high. Probably pizza, and if it's not pizza, then it's some dessert.
Okay.
I have a sweet tooth. I've been trying to get away from having a lot of a sweet tooth, but
Mhm.
I do love, like, a good ice cream, gelato, a
Yes.
cheesecake, a regular cake.
Ooh.
I like sweet tea. I'll be healthy and then have sweet tea.
Sweet
I
tea?
love water too, like, I do have my water jug here, I get
Yeah.
my water in. If there's one non-water beverage, it's definitely good
Yes.
old sweet tea too, so, yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. That was fun and a way
Yeah.
for us to get to know you a little bit more. So how can people stay in contact with you?
Sure. So, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the most front-facing professional contact. So you can just search for my name, Angela. I think it's Angela Jones, and they've got like they can't do hyphens, or they weren't back in the
Hmm.
day. So it's got it in like parentheses or what have
Okay.
you. But you can search for Angela White-Jones or Angela Jones and UCF, and I tend to pop up there. And I'm working on my website, so I
Mhm.
will have all of the stuff and all of the things on there. So if you want to contact me for anything, or just to shoot the breeze, you can. But email is always a good way to also get a hold of me as well. And I think we have that. I don't know if we provide that, but you can
Yep.
reach me at angela.white-jones at ucf.edu. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. And any of those opportunities I had mentioned as well with education or
Mhm.
continuing education, please send me that. Let me know where you heard it from, that you heard it here
Mhm.
on Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. And I definitely will give you some more information about anything that you're wondering about.
Love it. And if you have any like flyers or anything that we can drop in the group, please feel free to send them over for those programs.
Absolutely.
The Orange and Osceola and the financial management as well. We can share that as
Wonderful.
well.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to you coming back at some point throughout the year.
Yes.
So thank you, and thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.